Today I'm building a new gaming PC for another YouTuber. His name is NerosCinema, and he is a Call of Duty YouTuber with over 650,000 subscribers. He's been making Call of Duty content now here on YouTube for about 14 years. And I don't care who you are, to be doing anything at all for 14 years, especially in 2025, that is impressive. Like, wow, seriously, that is impressive. So kudos, props, massive shout out to Nero for that. Congratulations, man, because that is definitely not an easy task. Now, with that being said, I've been watching Nero now for quite a few years, and a few months ago, I was watching one of his videos, and I heard him say this.
Like, I don't see many other content creators talking about this because a lot of them are playing on NASA computers with fiber internet. Well, I'm not. I'm just a little NerosCinema over here. My PC is a bit dated. My motherboard and CPU in particular are a bit outdated, and my internet is the best I can get in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Black Ops 6. Specifically in the multiplayer, it just runs terribly. When I play on PC, it's unlimited packet burst and stuttering, and the best way I can describe it is it's like there's a magnet on either side of my character that is always just pushing or pulling me towards them when I move. This happened so much that eventually I just said to hell with it. I'm going back to console. I'm going back to console.
I'm going back to console.
Now, obviously, once he said he was going back to console, I felt that. So I figured I would reach out and offer to build him a new gaming PC. And he said yes, and obviously that's why we're making this video. Now, this video is about 5 months in the making, and the reason for that is because when I initially reached out to NerosCinema, it was right before the launch of the 50 series cards and RDNA 4. And we wanted to wait and let all the cards come out and see, you know, basically what the performance levels were like and make a good decision based on that information. Additionally, I also contacted Asus and I said, hey, I'm doing this collaboration if you guys want to help out. And they said absolutely, they would be more than happy to be a part of it. So massive shout out to Asus because they provided almost all of the parts for today's PC building project. Now, there are a couple of items provided by me, but outside of that, pretty much everything here was provided by Asus. So again, massive shout out to Asus. Thank you so much for the support on this project. Okay, now it's time to talk about NerosCinema's current PC situation. So he purchased a pre-built PC all the way back in 2017, and it came with dual 1080s in it. However, in 2020, he switched those out and just got an RTX 3070. Now, as for the CPU, it is an Intel Core i9-7940X, which was pretty top of the line back in 2017. And even today on Amazon, this CPU is still selling for $300. It's probably because of the 14 cores and 28 threads that it has. However, the CPU is limited to DDR4 memory, maxed out at 2666 MTs on the speed, which is exactly what Nero has. He has 64 gigabytes of RAM. And as for the CPU cooler, it is a Corsair H100i V2, which is a 240 millimeter AIO. And finally, finishing up talking about his motherboard, it is an MSI X299 Raider, and overall a pretty good board for the time. However, it is definitely outdated by 2025 standards. There is no built-in IO shield. There is no Bluetooth support. There is no Wi-Fi support. There's definitely a lot of room here for improvement on the motherboard for sure. Now, look, I'll be honest, I was pretty surprised by some of the specifications in his PC. After all, he told me it was a pre-built from 2017. I was like, yeah, this thing's probably not that great. But I actually was fairly surprised by some of the specs there. They're actually not all that bad. I think for the money in 2017, I think he got a pretty good PC. Obviously, it lasted him this long, and only recently did he really start having a bunch of issues. So now it's time to give him a proper upgrade. Okay, so anytime you do a PC build, you need to decide if you're going to go with AMD or Intel. And for me, I decided to go with AMD for this PC build. And for the CPU itself, I decided to go with Old Faithful here, AMD Ryzen 7800X 3D. And while Asus did provide the majority of the parts for this PC build, it was up to me to provide the CPU. And so I already had the CPU on hand. And you know what? It's still a great CPU even in 2025. It's not that old. It's still available for purchase. It has 8 cores and 16 threads with a boost clock up to 5 gigahertz. And speaking of gaming, it is still one of the fastest gaming CPUs that money can buy. This is truly a phenomenal CPU, and it will definitely be a massive upgrade for NerosCinema. And now that we know that our platform is AMD, that means we need an AMD motherboard to go along with it. So Asus sent over their ROG Strix B850-F gaming Wi-Fi motherboard. Now, I could do an entire video on this motherboard alone, but we don't have time for that. So here are some quick specs about this motherboard, and I'll have a link in the description for all the details on this motherboard in case you're looking to pick it up for yourself. So first off, this motherboard does support DDR5 memory. It is a 4-DIMM motherboard, and it's rated to support speeds all the way up over over 8,000 MTs. It also offers 4 M.2 slots, and it has 2 expansion slots, and the top slot where you would put your GPU is a Gen 5 by 16 slot. Now also keep in mind that NerosCinema's current motherboard doesn't even have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Well, the B850-F gaming Wi-Fi features Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4. And for the rear USB, we have a total of 12 ports with one USB 20 gigabit port, which is a Type-C port, and 3 USB 10 gigabit ports, 2 of which are Type A and one's a Type C, and 4 USB 5 gigabit ports, which are all Type A, and another 4 USB 2.0 ports, which are also all Type A. And you also have a clear CMOS button as well as a BIOS flashback button, which is always nice to see. And finally, I got to talk about the easy PC DIY features that this motherboard supports, such as the M.2 Q release and the M.2 Q latch. And for the GPU, we have Q release slim support here, so you just lift up and out and the GPU comes right out, no button pressing necessary. And going back over to the Wi-Fi support, this motherboard also supports Q antenna, so very quickly just plug the antenna on and pull it right off. This antenna is also magnetic, so you can stick it to the back of the case, out of sight, out of mind. Very nice to have. And as for the memory, we have 2 sticks of DDR5 clocked at 6,000 MTs, which is the sweet spot for AMD Ryzen processors. And this is a total of 32 gigabytes of memory, so it is less memory than what he currently has in his current system, but it is significantly faster memory in pretty much every capacity. And for those wondering, this particular RAM kit is the Skill Trident Z5 Neo RGB. And now that we have our CPU and our motherboard and our RAM, let's get everything put together. So we just quickly drop in the CPU, and then we put in our 2 sticks of RAM in the A2 and B2 DIMM slots. And just real quick on the storage, I'm giving him 2 NVMe SSDs that are both Gen 4, 1 terabyte each, so therefore he'll have a total of 2 terabytes. But here's the thing that I love about this. So I had to provide the storage myself, and so I went out to Walmart really late one night. It was around like 10 or 11 o'clock, and I walked over to their SSD section. Yes, Walmart actually carries SSDs, believe it or not. And these 2 Gen 4 1 terabyte SSDs were only $30 each in the clearance section. Now, I know they were probably clearance for a reason, but still, this is a phenomenal deal, and I was so excited. So I bought 2 of them, and I'm giving them both the NerosCinema. Now, next up, we have to talk about our CPU cooler situation. So again, going back to his current PC build, he only has a 240 millimeter AIO. So we're going to upgrade that to a 360 millimeter AIO. This is the ROG RYUJIN 360 ARGB Extreme CPU liquid cooler. This thing is absolutely a beast. As you can see, this features a full color 3.5 inch LCD display coming in at a 480p resolution and 60 Hz on the refresh rate. Additionally, the color depth is 24-bit. This is by far the best looking LCD display I've ever seen on an AIO to date. By the way, if I didn't mention it before, this LCD display is fully customizable, so you can put whatever you want on it. You can do system monitoring, or you could put your favorite piece of art or favorite GIF or whatever you want. And that is all controllable in Armory Crate 6. But the fun doesn't stop there. And it also features a Gen 8 V2 Asetek pump. And right under that LCD display, but right above the Asetek pump, is an embedded VRM fan to help keep things cool. Now, by far, my absolute favorite part about this AIO are the fans that come with it. So it does come with 3 120 millimeter ARGB fans, but the cool part is the fact that they are completely magnetic. And look, I'm not trying to sound too excited here, but legitimately, I think this is the way going forward. I know there are a lot of different manufacturers out there offering fans in various configurations that are all claiming to be daisy chainable, and technically they are. However, this is by far the easiest and cleanest and simplest solution I have seen so far, and I have worked with a bunch of different AIOs at this point. This is by far my favorite solution. These fans easily go together, it looks good, and it's easy to work with. There's nothing here at all that is a pain, and that is something that I really appreciate. But in all seriousness, I love this solution, and I want to see it continue forward. Now, the case we're using here is the ROG Hyperion GR701, and this is by far the biggest case I have ever built in, and honestly, I think it might be the most expensive case I've ever built in as well. Now, NerosCinema picked this case out. I will admit that the case seems a little bit over the top for all the other components that we're putting in here, but Nero said that he loved the way that it looked, and and it reminded him of a spaceship, so he wanted it. And Asus was more than happy to send it on over. So I got to build in this thing, and this case is absolutely awesome. You have almost endless amounts of space to build in. It is not cluttered at all because it definitely is a larger case. In terms of build quality, this thing is probably second to none. You can tell that Asus is definitely using high-end premium quality materials on this case. This thing absolutely screams premium quality material. And speaking of premium build quality, this case does feature a die-cast aluminum alloy frame. And yes, you can totally use the bars up top as handles to move around the case. The front of the case lights up with RGB, and again, fully controllable with Armory Crate 6. It also features 4 pre-installed 140mm fans for optimal airflow. So airflow in this case is definitely not a problem at all. And you'll see that later whenever we do our gaming benchmarks and show off the CPU and GPU temperatures. Now, speaking of the 4 pre-installed fans, they are already pre-wired for you with the built-in fan hub. And actually, this is more than just a fan hub. It is also an ARGB hub all at the same time. So you can support up to 8 ARGB components and 6 PWM fans all at the same time. That is pretty awesome if you ask me. Now, out of the box, this case will come with an ROG themed lighting panel already installed and pre-wired and ready to go. However, you can remove that panel if you want and put additional case fans there. But for me in this build, I decided to stick with the lighting panel. Additionally, the ROG Hyperion GR701 features 2 tempered glass panels, one on the front and one on the back, and both can be removed without any tools at all. Now, the bottom part of the case does have a little window where you can see your power supply. Additionally, it also has a hidden drawer where you can put extra tools like a screwdriver and leftover screws. Now, speaking of a screwdriver, they actually give you a screwdriver inside the accessory box, and I thought that was pretty cool because I've never seen that before. Now, obviously, with this case being so big, it can definitely support pretty much any GPU out there, but it also has a built-in graphics card holder that will support the GPU in both a traditional install as well as a vertical install, and you won't have to buy any additional accessories or anything like that. Everything you need is already included here, and that is definitely something that is nice to see. And now it's time to talk about everybody's favorite component, and that is the GPU. And so for the GPU for this PC build, we're going with the ROG Strix RTX 5070 Ti. This is the latest addition to the 5070 Ti family from Asus, and they sent it out to me. And as far as I understand it, I was able to get one of the very first media samples of this card, and I'm very grateful for that. And even though Asus had no expectations for me to do anything with this card outside of putting it in this dedicated PC build, I decided to make a full dedicated video on this card. And so if you want the full rundown of this card, as well as seeing me dress up as a Pokemon trainer and make a complete idiot of myself, then be sure to check out my dedicated video on the ROG Strix RTX 5070 Ti. But in short, it is a 5070 Ti. It is an overclocked model. It has a triple fan design, and it also has a lot of RGB. This card is absolutely gorgeous, and it also has a mirror finish on the side that lights up with full RGB, and also the back plate has the Asus logo on it that is also a mirror finish. So this card is definitely awesome, and it looks absolutely incredible. And honestly, I was tempted to keep it for myself, but you know, it's going to NerosCinema, so it's going to a good cause. And finally, what are we going to power all of this stuff with? Well, we're going to be using a TUF Gaming 80 plus gold 1000 watt power supply from Asus. Now look, I'll be honest, I do wish it was an ROG Strix theme power supply to go with all the other ROG Strix components that we have in this PC. But to be fair, it is the power supply. It's going to be the item that you see the least. And overall, this power supply is still absolutely phenomenal, and it's more than capable of handling the job and doing everything that it needs to do for this PC build. I'm actually using this exact same model in my day-to-day personal build right now, and I've had zero issues with it, and it's done a great job at powering my RTX 5090. And now, speaking of the 50 series cards, that is one of the main selling points about this power supply. It is ATX 3.1 compatible, and so it is up to date with the latest standards to support the latest GPUs. So it is fully ready for the RTX 5000 series GPUs. It also comes with a 10-year warranty, so if NerosCinema has any issues with this power supply over the next 10 years, Asus will definitely take care of them. And the fan on the inside of this power supply is an Axial Tech fan with a dual ball bearing design, so I fully expect this power supply to last Nero a very long time. And finally, before I show the final PC build, I want to talk about a couple of custom items items that I put together or purchased for this particular build. So number one, my wife actually does custom designs with perler beads, and she actually took the logo for NerosCinema and built it out of perler beads, and then we put some magnets on it to make it magnetic, and so now that is sitting on the inside of his case. So this entire logo here was built by my wife, so a massive shout out to her for that. And then in addition to that, that drawer on the bottom of this case that can store your screwdriver and other tools, I actually decided to remove that drawer and instead replace it with a custom design panel that I found off of Etsy, because this case actually has a lot of support on Etsy, believe it or not. You can get a lot of custom panels for it. And so I made a fully custom Call of Duty Black Ops 1 panel for this case, because Black Ops 1 is NerosCinema's favorite Call of Duty of all time. And so this panel features RGB lighting, and of course it has NerosCinema's name on it, as well as all 15 prestige emblems in order. But it also has no skill-based matchmaking, which is just something that is funny, but also just something the entire Call of Duty community is over with right now, and we just want gone. So that is something NerosCinema says a lot in his videos, is how much he hates skill-based matchmaking. So I figured I would throw that in there. And of course, with the AIO having an LCD display on it, I figured I would showcase his logo, but I took some time and actually made a custom design for this logo. So I'm pretty proud of that. And I already showed it off to NerosCinema and he absolutely loved it. So this is the logo currently on the LCD display. And originally I was going to replace the power supply cables with orange and black to go with an orange and black theme for the build, but unfortunately it did not come out the way that I wanted it to come out. So I'm going to save these cables for a different project in the future. And now finally, without any further ado, here is the final PC build. And now that the PC is built, I'm going to tune it by changing a few key settings, and then we'll take it for a test drive. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into the UEFI BIOS. And one cool thing here about the new BIOS is that it's now in full HD. So it's crystal clear and a lot easier to see. It's a simple update, but it is very much appreciated. And now I'll press F7 on my keyboard, and that will take me into advanced mode. And from here, I can go over to the AI tweaker tab. And here, I'm just going to enable EXPO 1, which will give us the advertised speeds listed on our RAM kit. Lastly, I'll go over to the advanced tab and then go to AMD overclocking and then precision boost overdrive. From here, I'll change precision boost overdrive from auto to advanced. I then change the PBO limits to motherboard. Then I go to curve optimizer. I set it to all cores. Then I choose a sign of negative and a magnitude of 15. From here, we can simply hit F10 to save and exit. However, one thing I want to point out is that you also now have access to Asus's brand new Q dashboard feature, which gives you a visual representation of your motherboard inside the BIOS. So you can see all the different parts of your motherboard. And if you want to change something, you simply click where you want to go and it takes you directly there in the BIOS. A really cool and handy feature. Now let's boot into Windows. So I have Nero set up with a local account and I simply used his logo for the icon. And then I chose a generic Call of Duty background background for the desktop wallpaper, he can change both if he chooses to do so. And now on the desktop, we have an icon called Asus DriverHub. This is a tool that will scan your system and identify all the key features you may be missing. For example, this is now where you can easily and quickly get your Bluetooth drivers, your Wi-Fi drivers, your LAN drivers, and anything else your system may need. And it's so much faster than having to go out to the website and manually search for all of this stuff yourself. And you will also see various pieces of software here available for you to download at your convenience. Next up, I'll open up Armory Crate, and this is now Armory Crate 6. And as you can see, it has a massive visual overhaul compared to the older versions of Armory Crate. And in my opinion, I do think this looks a lot better and a lot more modern, but it's also a little bit faster as well. So that is definitely something that is nice to see. Now from here, you can change the RGB on all of your Asus components and even some non-Asus components. And you can also check for various updates on your hardware as well. So it's definitely a nice tool to have. Now I've already set the RGB and I've already installed all the updates. So now we want to go over the Fan XPERT 4. And here you can hit the button for auto tuning and it will automatically test the fans and get a good feel for their capabilities. And then from there, you will have different presets available to you and even a new preset called Extremely Quiet or Extreme Quiet. Now I simply chose the silent option because we don't want to make it too quiet. We do definitely want to make sure we're getting good airflow. And in my opinion, the silent option is definitely great. When it's not under load, you can barely hear the system at all. And even under load, it's really not all that loud. And honestly, if Nero wants to change it, he can come here and change it. Now, I know this may be a lot of information for newcomers to remember, so that is why Asus also has their brand new AI Advisor feature. And this is a free tool that you can download and use. And basically any questions you have about your system, for example, what model motherboard do you have? What kind of features do you have on it? And if you can't remember how to tune your fans or change the fan preset, you can simply ask the AI Advisor and it will tell you and even provide the presets for you right there in the chat. So definitely a very useful tool to have. And the best part is it's free and included with the Asus motherboard. And now without any further ado, let's switch over to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and let's see how well this PC can handle it. I spoke with Nero and he confirmed that he does play at 1440p. So I ran the in-game built-in benchmark at 1440p on 3 presets: the Extreme preset, the Ultra preset, and the Balance preset. Here are the numbers. On the Extreme preset, we saw an average of 120 FPS with a 1% low of 84 FPS. On the Ultra preset, we saw an average of 131 FPS with a 1% low of 91 FPS. On the Balance preset, we saw an average of 177 FPS with a 1% low of 142 FPS. And if for some reason he needs even more FPS than that, then the RTX 5070 Ti does support DLSS 4, which definitely will increase the overall frame rate. Now, in terms of temperatures in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the CPU usually stayed between 65 and 67C with a peak of 68C. And the GPU usually stayed between 57 and 58C with a peak of 59C. All right, that's it. We finally made it to the end of the video. I know, wow, hallelujah. It's been a long video, right? I totally get it. If you think it was long to watch, it was even longer to make. Like I said, this project has been about 5 months in the making, a lot of back and forth, a lot of behind the scenes things going on. Now, first of all, I did forget to mention that the handles on the tempered glass for this PC build are blue. And the reason why, my wife helped me to vinyl wrap these handles and just make them creative and stand out. I think this looks absolutely phenomenal. And it also matches NerosCinema's logo. So it's a win-win there. Now, with that being said, I am standing in front of you in front of this camera right now saying, thank you for a dream come true. When I started out as a tech content creator, I remember watching my favorite tech content creators do projects like this, work with companies and collaborate with other YouTubers and build PCs and ship them out. And I used to think, wow, how cool would that be? Well, here I am 4 or 5 years later. I don't know. I've lost track at this point. And I'm standing in front of the camera saying, thank you for a dream come true, because without you, the viewer, none of this would be possible. So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. every view, every like, every comment, share, and yes, every subscriber really makes a massive difference, because without all of those things, obviously other creators wouldn't want to collaborate with me on projects like this. Companies like Asus wouldn't want to work with me on projects like this. So seriously, thank you so much. I want to say thank you very much to Asus for obviously providing pretty much all the parts for this PC build and being patient with me as they were sending parts over. Never once were they like, hey, where's the NerosCinema build? When are you getting it done? They never did that. They were totally chill. They were totally cool, very flexible, and very supportive. So I got to give Asus a lot of credit here. Thank you, Asus. And also thank you to NerosCinema, because NerosCinema could have easily went out and purchased a new PC and not waited 5 months, but he was very cool, chill, patient, all the things. So again, thank you, NerosCinema, as well. I'm going to get out of here, but I'm going to play a little bit of audio from the Discord call that I had with NerosCinema when I showed him this PC, so you can get his initial and honest and very genuine reaction. And I'll also have my channel members scrolling up on the screen at the same time. But with all that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Stay tuned for the audio. Please like, comment, subscribe, all the things. And until next time, E-Rock out. And
why is it so giant?
That's the case you picked, man. It's the
I see the Nero stuff in the background there. My eyes first went to the Black Ops, and I see NerosCinema below there. I see the logo on the inside.
Yeah, so
it's like pixel arted.
So my wife built that for you. That's what she built it with perler beads. Also, this is black. And I worked with my wife, and I got her to vinyl wrap it. So this, like, you'll literally be the only person in the world to have blue handles on this case.
That looks amazing. It does glow right there, which looks really nice. I'm noticing the ROG in the background too. The COD like logo there going with the NerosCinema thing. That looks amazing.
I built this. I spent about an hour and a half on that yesterday. And right here, you can't see it, but I think you're gonna get a kick out of it. It says no skill-based matchmaking.
I can make it out. Yeah, that's amazing.
So
you bring back memories of these prestige icons, and also the longevity of the entire situation here. So not only is the original Black Ops my favorite game, when I made my YouTube channel, it was at the tail end of 2011, which Black Ops 1 was the current game. So my channel essentially started with Black Ops 1, and now here we are 14 plus years later, and now the NerosCinema PC is here. It's got the Black Ops logo. It's got how my branding has changed over time, and just, oh, that's amazing, man. You did an amazing job with this.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're happy with it.
And the blue that just looks amazing, especially when the case is closed and you kind of get that little bit of a glow effect. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It just looks so good.